Hello, hello there. This is a class with teacher Micaela. That's me. And we're going to talk about the simple present tense. Okay? How do we conjugate it and when do we use it? For example, whenever I want to say, I love that movie, or my dad hates football, or yeah, pizza is good. All of those sentences are in the simple present. So let's go and talk about it. Something that I always say with simple tenses, like for example, in this case, simple present tense, is that we have two groups of verbs. Like on this little group, we have the verb to be, and then we have a huge, gigantic, enormous group of verbs where we're gonna go pretty soon. But let's go and focus first on the verb to be, which we always know first thing, verb to be in the simple present tense. Okay, so here we have the verb to be conjugation. First, we have the positive form, right? And what are the verb to be in here? We have am, is, and are, right? Good. So we have the I am, you are, and he, she, is. Yeah, we know them. And we usually are. I'm just making a mess in here, but anyways, okay, so here we have in the positive form. So for example, I can say, I am super happy today. I'm super happy today. Yes. Or remember, in English, we use the verb to be to say how old we are. So I can also say, I am, or we're going to contract it and say, I'm 17 years old. Yes, or I can just say I'm 17, right? I'm 17. I'm happy. We usually use the verb to be for whenever we want to describe feelings or a state or moods. For example, I'm bored, I'm tired, I'm angry feelings. Or we can also use it for to describe where we are and what places we are. For example, I'm at work, I'm at the supermarket, I'm in Paraguay, and so on and so on. You have to study prepositions of place in there, yes? Anyways, let's move on to the negative, right? Negative, which is at the not. So we say, I am not, or contracted, I'm not. You are not, or contracted, we have two options. Like, for example, you're not, or you aren't. Same thing with is not. We have two options. He's not, or he isn't. Okay, so for example, I can say, my dad isn't my dad isn't sleepy right now. Okay, that's a very unusual example. Why? My dad isn't sleepy right now. Or I can also say, I'm not happy with the results. Or what? I don't know. Okay, good. Then we have the question forms. Question forms, something that I always say is that the correct, grammatically correct way to ask questions is to do the X rule. That's how I call them, X rule. What does that mean? For example, I have, you are happy, right? You are happy. That's in the positive form. But for the question form, the correct way is that you and are, I'm going to change them of positions. For example, instead of you are happy, I'm going to say, are you happy? That's the grammatically correct way of asking a question in English. So be careful with that. So in here, I'm going to say, hey, are you happy? That's a closed question. Remember, yes or no questions. Are you happy? Yes, I am, or no, I am not. Is your sister okay? Yes, she is, or no, she isn't. Or I can do an open question. Remember that with open questions, we have the WH questions. What are those WH questions? We have the what, where, when, why, how, who, what else? Some people add which, and others. You can create other ones with these. So for example, I can ask, why are you happy? Or Why are you sad? Hey, why are you sad today? Yeah. So these are the conjugations with the verb to be. Yeah, it's very, very, very simple. So we just use the verb to be for positive, for negative, and for question form. Okay. So that's the conjugation of the verb to be. We just use the verb to be for positive, negative, and question forms. Remember, verb to be. There, am, is, are. Very simple. Now we have another different, completely different separated groups in here of verbs. So these huge group of verbs, I call them the other verbs. So literally all the other verbs that you can think of, like run, write, cook, jump, read, any verb goes into these group because they're conjugated differently. So now let's go and talk about it. So these groups of verbs are the one that I call the other verbs. Okay. There you go. The other verbs. So what happens in here? The thing is that, for example, the verb play, you're going to have I play, you play, we play, you play, they play. Oh, be careful. We have two yous in here, which they're the same, but they're different. The first you is singular you, and then the second you is you, plural. So basically you understand them according to the context and the conversations. But anyway, let's move on. What is something different we see here in the positive form conjugation? We see the S's, okay? So in here, we conjugate differently for third person singular or he, she, it. Every time we're talking about one person, one animal, or one thing, we have to go into these conjugation, okay? For example, play. Yeah, we play. If I say, I play football. I'm just going to go with football, even though football, which we're going to go soon. How do we say in negative? Okay, I play football. But what about my sister? I'm going to say my sister plays handball. That's not true. My sister plays handball. Okay, and there's actually a spelling rule for how do we add the S's, which we're gonna go there soon. But just remember, whenever you're speaking, you have to make sure you are doing the sound. Okay, for example, I play, he plays. I eat, he eats. Oh my goodness, he eats apples every day. Yeah, eats. Okay. But what about in the negative form? If I want to say, in reality, I play football. So how do I say that? Here's what's different. This is not the same as the verb to be. I hope that we can just add the not. Oh, I play not. But we don't say that way. Because we're just going to complicate ourselves a little bit. Because that's English. Okay, so what do? We add something that we call the auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb. What does that mean? It doesn't have any meaning. It just tells you like, oh, this is negative. Okay. But in order to be negative, you need to add the not. So we, to not say do not, we contract them and we say don't. And then we have our main verb. Okay. So for example, in this case, I'm talking about play. So I'm going to say, I don't play football. I don't play football. I really don't play football. But then we were talking about my sister. Remember, we need to conjugate he, she, it. Third person singular. But in this case, see, check out the main verbs. Do we have the S in here? We don't need to. Why? Because if you you go to the auxiliary verb, we have the S in here already. What does that mean? Because they already have the S, or they are already conjugated, we don't need to conjugate our main verbs anymore. Not necessary. But instead of saying does not, we contract them and say doesn't. So, my sister doesn't play or plays. No S anymore. My sister doesn't play handball, which is true. I don't play football. My sister doesn't play handball. Okay? But what about you? How can I say in the question form? Again, for negative and for question form, we use the auxiliary verb do. Okay? Remember, again, for question forms, we need what I call them the X rule. Okay, I'm just going to write in here so you get to see it. The X rule. Okay, what does that mean? You change them places. So in this case, it's different from the verb to be. In this case, you have the auxiliary verb, then your subject, and then the main verb. Oops, here, the main verb. So, for example, I want to ask you about play. Any sports? Okay. So I'm going to say, hey, you, right there. Do you play any sports? Do you play any sports? And this is a yes or no question, so your answer would be yes or no, right? So in this case, you're going to tell me, oh, teacher, yes, I do. Yeah, or no, I don't. And then you can clarify. For example, you say, oh, teacher, yes, I do. I play rugby. Or no, teacher, I don't. I don't play any sports, teacher. Okay, that's okay. But what if I want to know about your friend? If you have any friend. So in that case, your friend is going to be a he or a she. What does that mean? And we need the auxiliary verb does. Okay. So in that case, I'm going to say, does your friend, because I need to talk about who, because does your friend play or plays? Remember, we don't need to add the S in here anymore because our auxiliary verb is already conjugated. Okay, so that's your friend, play any sport. And you're going to be like, teacher, but which friend? I can say right here, that's your friend? Julia, I don't know, play any sports? And you're going to be like, what, Julia? Or, you're going to say, yes, she does. Or negative, no, she doesn't. These are only for grammatically correct yes or no answers. Of course, in real life, people say like, oh, yep, like, nope, nuh-uh, yeah, Those are like real life answers. But if you have an exam or something, this is the correct, grammatically correct yes or no answers. Okay, you always go back to the auxiliary verb of that tense. Anyways, so in here, remember, these are yes or no questions, but I can also make them open questions with any WH questions. For example, remember WH, we have the what, where, when. Okay, so WH questions are always first. So in this case, I can say, where does your friend Julia play? And I'm going to say specific sport. Play volleyball. Volleyball. Where does your friend Julia play volleyball? And now your answer is an open answer, right? Because you have to say, she plays volleyball at school. I don't know who is even Julia, right? Anyways, so this is the simple present tense. So we have the two groups. I'm going to go back here at the top. We have the two groups, like one little group of the verb to be. I am happy, I'm here, I'm Paraguayan, I'm from Paraguay. And then we have a huge, gigantic verb, which all the other verbs, I like, run, blah, blah. But when do we use the simple present or the present simple tense? When do we use them? Basically, for me, I call them, here it is. There are two situations that we use the simple present. For example, I'm going to make this smaller, and we're going to go to the first one. For truths and or facts. Things that you cannot change. For example, my hair is black. I can change that, right? But as right now, like in the present now, you can change that. Like right now, my hair is black. That's it. Okay? Or as right now, my dog, I don't have a dog. My dog loves running. Or I'm going to say loves food. My dog loves food. Yes. Do you see one is with the verb to be and the other one is with the other verbs in the positive form? Another situation we use the simple present for, it's for habits or routine. Okay. If I want to say, for example, I wake up at 9 a.m. every Sunday. Okay, so every Sunday, that's my routine. Every Sunday, I wake up at 9 a.m. Remember, I can talk about a third person singular here. For example, I can say, my grandma, wake up, be careful. My grandma wakes up at 9 a.m. every Sunday. That's not true, but yeah. Okay, or I can say one in negative. I don't cook every day. That's actually true. That's a fact and a routine. I don't cook every day. Okay. Does making boiled eggs count as cooking? Good question, right? I don't cook every day. Okay, or I can also use the verb to be. For example, I can say, I'm never late. I'm never late. That's a habit, that's a routine. Or it could also be counted as a fact, right? I'm never late. So those are the two situations where we always use the simple present tense. Okay, so what I recommend you to do is to go online, look for exercises like simple present tense exercises. Practice conjugating them. You can even stay in YouTube and look for examples, or tenses. And I recommend you to please always, whenever you do active listening exercises, pay attention to the conjugations of third person singular for the other verbs group. Okay, for example, she loves doing that. She doesn't care. She doesn't mind. Does your mom, blah, blah. So those are the ones. Please always pay attention. And remember, we do have our practice speaking meetings or speaking practice meetings on TikTok. So whenever you can come and join us on TikTok every Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Paraguay time zone if you want to come and practice. There are no excuses for speaking practice anymore, okay? But I don't know, if you have more questions, you can write them in the comments, and I will be answering you. You can go and learn about the spelling rules of third person singular. I'm going to show you right now. So here you have the conjugation of the verbs for third person singular in the simple present tense, which is actually almost the same rule for the pluralization of nouns. Interesting fact. anyways, I know this kind of blurry, but whatever, it works. So the first rule is that most of the verbs, we just add the S. For example, I play, she plays. I work, she works, right? But whenever the verb ends in CH, just S, SH, X, or Z, or Z, we add the ES. For example, I watch TV, she watches TV. Okay, I box my things, she's boxing her things. Boxing? Oh, wait, I changed the tense. She boxes things, okay? Or rushes or relaxes, just like what we have in here. Okay, next, the one that we have a consonant, it ends in a consonant and then a Y. That's when we switch the Y for an I and then ES. So I study, she studies. But be careful, because if we just have a vowel and then a Y, for example, play, a vowel and a Y, we just add the S. I play, she plays. But then we have irregular ones, which I actually read somewhere that whenever the verb ends in a consonant and then an O, you add the ES. That's why our auxiliary verb to do in for he, she, it is does. She does not or doesn't. Okay, but I do homework, she does homework. I go to work, she goes to work. Okay, but then we have this irregular one, which is have. I have black hair, but she has blonde hair. Okay, and so on. So basically, these are the ones, the rules. So again, go online. You can find so many different exercises to do online. Okay. And I don't know, like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know. And don't forget, practice speaking, practice writing, quick writing exercises, active listening, and reading books. Reading books truly, truly helps. So don't forget that those 4 exercises are always your best friends to learn any language. Well, anyways, see you in the next class.